In just 3 minutes and 12 seconds, 4 diplomatic cables changed everything. Cooper didn't expect Caracas documents. She expected softball questions. Cameras caught her panic. The Commons watched her crumble. What did I reveal about Labour's secret Venezuelan dealings that left Britain's Home Secretary speechless? At exactly 3:24 p.m. on the 18th of February 2025, the House of Commons was about to witness the most explosive foreign policy confrontation since the Iraq War debates. I walked to the dispatch box like a prosecutor armed with evidence that would end a cabinet career. Across the chamber, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper sat rigidly beside the Prime Minister, her red ministerial folder suddenly feeling inadequate for the constitutional storm heading her way. I adjusted my navy blazer and placed a leather portfolio on the dispatch box containing 73 pages of classified Foreign Office correspondence that would destroy Labour's credibility on Venezuelan policy forever. Mr. Speaker, I began, I want to ask the Home Secretary about her department's handling of Venezuelan asylum claims and some very troubling diplomatic arrangements that raise serious questions about this government's integrity on human rights. Cooper's team had prepared for immigration questions, not forensic analysis of classified Venezuelan negotiations. Mr. Speaker, Cooper replied steadily, this government is committed to providing sanctuary for those fleeing the brutal Maduro regime while maintaining appropriate diplomatic channels for regional stability. Mr. Speaker, the Home Secretary talks about providing sanctuary, I interrupted sharply, but I have here confidential Foreign Office cables showing that her department has been secretly coordinating with Venezuelan intelligence services to identify and monitor asylum seekers on British soil. I opened my portfolio and removed a document bearing the unmistakable red classification stamps of the Foreign Office. The paper's official seals were clearly visible to the cameras as I held it up, ensuring millions of viewers could witness the evidence that would destroy a ministerial career. This cable, dated the 12th of January 2025, from our embassy in Caracas to the Home Office, explicitly details arrangements for sharing asylum seeker information with what the document calls Venezuelan state security apparatus in exchange for enhanced bilateral cooperation. The revelation detonated like a diplomatic bomb in the chamber. Sharing asylum seeker information with the very regime they were fleeing from violated every principle of international law and human rights protection. Conservative MPs erupted in outrage while Labour MPs sat in shocked silence. Mr. Speaker, Cooper replied, stress betraying in her voice, the Home Office conducts routine information sharing with international partners according to established protocols that protect vulnerable individuals. Mr. Speaker, routine information sharing does not include providing Venezuelan intelligence with the home addresses, employment details, and family connections of asylum seekers who have testified against the Maduro regime at international tribunals. The chamber erupted as the implications became clear. This wasn't bureaucratic cooperation. This was systematic betrayal of people who had risked their lives to expose Venezuelan war crimes. But I wasn't finished with my diplomatic evidence. I had additional correspondence that would expand the scandal beyond human rights violations to include financial corruption that struck at the heart of British foreign policy integrity. Mr. Speaker, I said, removing another document from my portfolio, I want to ask the Home Secretary about payments her department received from Venezuelan sources and how these may have influenced asylum decisions. The shift to financial corruption sent another shockwave through the chamber. Cooper's face immediately flushed as she realized money was about to be discussed in terms that could trigger criminal investigations. Mr. Speaker, Cooper replied, her voice already showing panic. The Home Office accepts no payments from foreign governments that could compromise our independence in asylum decisions. Mr. Speaker, I replied with surgical precision, Foreign Office financial records show that the Home Office received £2.3 million in what Venezuelan documents describe as information services consultation fees between November 2024 and January 2025. The disclosure created another constitutional earthquake. Over £2 million in payments from a regime Britain officially condemned raised immediate questions about corruption and foreign influence over asylum policy. Mr. Speaker, according to Venezuelan Ministry of Interior budgets obtained this morning, these payments were specifically allocated for asylum intelligence cooperation and political refugee monitoring services. At 3:27 p.m., exactly 3 minutes into my questioning, both Cooper and Foreign Secretary David Lammy experienced simultaneous political panic as they realized the evidence was overwhelming, interconnected, and publicly documented in parliamentary record. Cooper's hands trembled visibly as she reached for her water glass, while Lammy frantically whispered with civil servants, searching for explanations that didn't exist. Mr. Speaker, these allegations are completely unfounded. Cooper whispered, the Home Office has never accepted payments that could compromise asylum decisions. Mr. Speaker, I replied with prosecutorial authority, these payments were processed through Government Banking Service account GB33 GovUB 00000001247, specifically designated for Home Office International Cooperation Funding. Meanwhile, the scandal was expanding to implicate the broader government, as my evidence revealed systematic coordination between multiple departments in what appeared to be the most serious foreign policy corruption in decades. Mr. Speaker, will the Foreign Secretary confirm that his department facilitated these payments as part of what Venezuelan documents call Operation Silent Return a joint program to identify and neutralize Venezuelan dissidents in the UK? The question forced Lammy to either admit to facilitating a foreign assassination program or acknowledge ignorance of his own department's activities. Both answers potentially career ending. Mr. Speaker, the Foreign Office conducts diplomatic relations according to international law and British values, Lammy replied weakly, but his evasion only made the scandal worse. But I had my final piece of evidence that would make any government claims of innocence completely untenable. I removed the smoking gun from my portfolio documentation that would trigger immediate criminal investigations. Mr. Speaker, I have here WhatsApp communications between the Home Secretary's private office and Venezuelan Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello discussing specific asylum seekers by name and agreeing to delay their cases pending security consultations. The revelation of direct communications with one of Venezuela's most notorious human rights violators represented the ultimate breach of ministerial responsibility and international law. Furthermore, I continued, delivering the final blow, these messages include Home Office confirmation that 3 asylum seekers had their applications deliberately rejected after Venezuelan intelligence provided what they called negative security assessments. The chamber descended into chaos as MPs processed the full horror of what had been revealed. The British government hadn't just failed to protect asylum seekers, it had actively collaborated with their persecutors to deny them sanctuary and expose them to persecution. Conservative MPs were on their feet demanding immediate resignations. Labour MPs sat in stunned silence as the magnitude of the scandal became clear. The Speaker's calls for order were drowned out by constitutional outrage that echoed through Westminster's ancient halls. At 3:29 p.m., after exactly 5 minutes of questioning, both Cooper and Lammy experienced complete ministerial collapse. Cooper buried her face in her hands, her political career disintegrating in real time. Lammy stared blankly at his notes, knowing that foreign policy scandal of this magnitude typically destroyed entire governments. Mr. Speaker, I concluded with the authority of someone presenting evidence to an international tribunal. Based on this evidence, the Home Secretary and Foreign Secretary have betrayed asylum seekers, violated international law, and accepted payments from a regime they claim to oppose. Speaker Hoyle, recognizing that normal parliamentary procedures were inadequate for allegations of this gravity, called for an immediate suspension. The House will suspend for 15 minutes, while I consider the implications of the evidence presented for ministerial conduct. The suspension was unprecedented for PMQs, but necessary given allegations that went to the heart of Britain's international reputation and legal obligations to protect refugees fleeing persecution. As cameras captured every moment, Cooper and Lammy remained frozen at their dispatch boxes, their ministerial authority obliterated, and their government's foreign policy exposed as systematic corruption and human rights betrayal. Within minutes, social media exploded with footage of the ministerial breakdown. Venezuela trended worldwide within 20 minutes. Generating international outrage, the Venezuelan opposition called for international criminal court investigations into British complicity. Amnesty International condemned the revelations as a betrayal of fundamental human rights principles. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees announced an immediate investigation into British asylum procedures. The PMQs session became required viewing in international law courses, demonstrating how parliamentary oversight can expose governmental corruption and protect vulnerable populations from state betrayal. Sometimes the strongest weapon against human rights violations isn't diplomatic protest. It is documentary evidence perfectly presented when corruption has nowhere to hide. What happens when ministerial lies meet whistleblower truth? Yvette Cooper learned these lessons when forensic analysis revealed that some crimes against humanity are too well documented to deny. This dramatized account explores themes of asylum protection, ministerial accountability, and international human rights law. All dialogue and specific incidents are fictionalized for analytical purposes while addressing real concerns about refugee protection and governmental transparency.